Welcome everyone to episode 80 of the Thundercraps podcast, where we forge through the shitstorm that was WCW Thunder. The boy who cried wolf, your host, Josh Kaiser. And joining me today, a stupid Pearson, Kyle Hoagland.
What's happening, everybody? So, I don't know if you've been watching it, and I think you have been, because obviously, we both had the WWE Network, and have you been watching the Undertaker Last Ride documentary?
Not yet, actually. I've heard some good stuff about it. It's on my to watch list at some point, but I've not gotten around to it yet.
I only ask because I don't want to out myself, but I looked over and I saw recently viewed, and I saw somebody had watched the first 8 minutes of the most recent episode that came out last week. I believe the final episode comes out tomorrow. And by tomorrow, I mean we're recording this on the 20th of June, so we're kind of recording this a little bit earlier than we're going to bring the show out. So by the time this actually comes out, the final episode will have already aired. So that'll be exciting because it's so far been really interesting. Both from it's always cool to see the back, kind of the behind the scenes stuff, especially in the world of wrestling. But the Undertaker in particular is such I don't know how else you say it than it's just he's always been a mystical character.
An enigma.
Yeah. So when you have someone like that, peeling behind the curtain of Mark Calloway, it's both refreshing and it's a little uncomfortable because you've just been used to this guy being the Undertaker for 26 years, whatever it's been. And it's hard to turn that off. I'm sure it's hard for him to turn it off, let alone us. But
right.
He's recently been doing interviews the Smoking Skull sessions and a couple of radio and TV stuff where he's just a dude in a t-shirt just fucking talking about wrestling. And it's just such a jarring thing to experience. But so far it's been a really, really interesting documentary. So yeah, if you haven't gotten around to seeing it, I guess you could always wait till tomorrow when all the episodes are available and you can just binge it. But it's a really good watch.
Well, I can tell you what's not a really good watch, and that is Thunder 80, Kyle.
How dare you?
Of course, it's September 16th, 1999. We're days past Fall Brawl, where the biggest story is Sting has turned heel. He has won the World Championship. We've got a lot to unpackage, and no better way to do it than on a preempted episode of Thunder.
I also have to give credit to the fact that, and I know we haven't gotten to it yet, and go ahead and keep going. There's a time and place for me to make fun of what we're going to make fun of, but I do love that every once in a while they give these really long movie theater preview voice guy promos at the beginning of the show, and
right.
They did one for Sting. Man, they really are trying to sell the idea that Sting is just a no good scoundrel.
That they are. It opens up with a promo, Sting the go-to guy, and his betrayal at Fall Brawl. Could it have been the long con all along? Was the blackest part his heart? We should have known all along. Was he the Hummer driver? These are some of the questions they asked. Of course, they're talking about how Sting has turned his back on his fans, and they're really just trying to sell us here that Sting is a heel now. If you miss Fall Brawl, Sting is a heel, and he's the world champion. And then we cut live from a studio.
So this studio. Let's just first of all, there's one side of the coin where I'm what a tacky looking pile of garbage this set is. But second of all, there's a part of me that's impressed because I'm okay, they were supposed to be performing, in South Carolina, I believe, but because of Hurricane Floyd, they couldn't do it. So did they always have this ready, or did they
Thunder
really
Studio?
Quickly? Yeah, did they always have this particular Thunder Studio, or do you think they had to make this in a couple days to have something to present? Because if it's the latter, then I'm actually really impressed with what they came up with. But I still have to say it's a tacky ass looking set. But like I said,
yeah.
I guess we got to give credit for the fact that they had to kind of, run an audible.
Right, and that's what they're doing today. So we can kind of discuss throughout the show how this audible goes, but actually, we'll discuss at the end what our overall thoughts are on the audible. But of course, Hurricane Floyd, like you mentioned, causes a cancellation, so they have to pivot here. And they're going to let us know, of course, it is Tenay and it is Zbyszko, and they're going to talk about Sting and all the world title matches that kind of occurred recently. They also let us know Halloween Havoc, weeks away. Our main event, Sting and Hogan. We've got a rematch from Fall Brawl, Kyle. World title back on the line. So
it's exciting. I'm glad that there's a rematch. I'm glad that there's a heel I give a shit about, even if it's artificially created with Sting. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that was one thing I got really concerned about was in the world title picture, who are the heels? It just doesn't feel like there are any,
right,
or anything that's going to like carry or kind of like carry the banner of, being who's the guy that's going to have to be thwarted by the good guys. And there really wasn't anybody that was threatening Hogan. And so I think this is actually a fantastic time for Sting to go heel. Now, is this the same as when Hogan went heel? Absolutely not. But Sting was always like, I always felt like that was like, and I don't want to say this as a complete parallel, but it's like WCW's John Cena, where like as soon as he's over as the babyface, he's always been like a mega babyface. Like there was no reason for him to go heel. Obviously, they had that vigilante Crow Sting, but people like that character, and they cheered that character. So even when he was a little nefarious, he still was doing it for the good of WCW, whether you wanted to believe it or not, but he was always cheered on. So this is, I think, a good pivot for Sting. I think Sting needed a little bit of a refresher because I feel like as good as the Crow Sting character is, and you can agree or disagree with me, but probably since Starrcade 97, the character and the career of Sting has been kind of lukewarm, and maybe that has something to do with what happened at Starrcade 97, but 98 was not a great year for Sting, and 99 was basically a non-existent year for Sting until this happened.
No, yeah, I mean, there's a lot that could be said. I know Sting had personal stuff going on during all of that too, leading up to Starrcade 97. But yeah, this is probably the first time in a while that his character's done something interesting. Give him credit for that. And we'll just have to see kind of going forward if he's going to be this despicable heel that, they're hoping to make him out to be with that opening promo.
Agreed. And the only other thing that I could say is during the, as far as like the studio. So I don't know, maybe it's just me and like we can move on, but there's something uneasy about watching like Tenay and most importantly Zbyszko. They're in a studio now, so they have like the hard camera in the front, and then they've got like a camera A, camera B, camera C, and instead of just looking at us straight ahead and just talking to us, there's always like that, like all of a sudden like Zbyszko just looks over to the side and looks at another camera, and I've never been used to that with a wrestling show of like having like this like, all right, go to camera 2, go to camera 3. And it was so weird. And we're going to see many times when they keep going back to the studio. And it's like, they're actually on like the right side camera and they're like both looking at it together like, all right, and we're back. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Why are you making this weird?
They're trying to make it like a legit news production apparently. But they do tell us that we're going to talk Sting all night. We're going to see all kinds of world title matches and pay-per-views leading up to the most recent. So with that said, we go into our first replay of the night, and it's the Kevin Nash Randy Savage feud. It starts with promos of Nash defending the title. Then Savage has somebody dress up like Nash in a dress. Nash is pouring doo-doo into the limo. This is when Nash gets hit by the Hummer. We then go to clips from Great American Bash. This is where Nash and Savage actually wrestled. Nash kicks out of the elbow drop. He hits the powerbomb. The ladies on Team Madness attack Nash. Sid comes out. He lays out Nash. That's our DQ finish. So world title match number 1 that we're seeing, DQ finish at Great American Bash.
And we also learned that women cannot cause DQs. We also learned, and we're going to learn it in the next match, that holy shit, I did not know just how many bumps the ladies were taking in these matches. Nash was just fucking them up.
They were bumping for sure. Yeah, no doubt about that. We then go back to Tenay and Larry. They're discussing Bash at the Beach, which is the next pay-per-view. Of course, this is we got the tag team match, Nash and Sting versus Sid and Savage. This is also, I believe, where the title is on the line. So whoever gets the pinfall will be world champs. That was an added thing that added a little moment that they added to this, a little stipulation.
So what's your favorite tag team match for the world title?
Right?
Like it's not. This is not the first time they've done this. Probably wasn't the last time either. But how incredibly
such
stupid!
Such a terrible thing.
Like that's like what is like gimmick matches, whatever. There's a time and place for them. But holy shit! Like where does this even remotely make any sense? Like if I'm the world champion, the last thing I would ever, and I know that's like, it seems like that would be put you in a disadvantage. Like I would never tag anybody. The moment you're out of the match,
right.
you can't control your own fate at that point. And it's just it's a stupid match. And I don't know, like I tried to look back and see if there's any others. And I know there's a couple in the even in the WWE in the mid 2000s, they did it a couple of fucking times.
They had that In Your House pay-per-view where all the titles were on the line, where Diesel was in that one, actually. It was Diesel world champ, Shawn was Intercontinental, and Owen and Razor.
No, it was Yokozuna and Owen Hart.
That's what I meant. Owen and Yoko were tag champs, and it was whoever won would, win the titles. And if Nash got pinned, the other person would be world champ. Yeah. It just became a big clusterfuck.
Absolutely.
Speaking of clusterfucks, as for this tag team match, the Jersey Triad come out. Roddy Piper's there. David Flair is there. All of the Horsemen are there. They're all attacking Nash. Nash is going to get the taser, and he kidnaps Gorgeous George. He runs out with her and Tori Wilson. Then they show a Hummer with Sting maybe sitting in it. And then some Sting, whether it's a real Sting or fake Sting, and Sid attack Nash on the following Nitro. So a lot of chaos going on here. This leads us back to Tenay and Larry Zbyszko discussing potentially how Sting could have been untrustworthy way back when. We then cut back to that Bash at the Beach tag team match where Savage is actually going to win the title thanks to Sid's help and Gorgeous George's help as she had turned on Kevin Nash. Whew. So then, the following Nitro, after Bash at the Beach, Savage offers an open title shot to anyone other than Kevin Nash. Hogan's going to come out and challenge Savage for that world title. Then Sid's going to come in and attack Hogan. Sting comes in for the save. Nash comes in and powerbombs Savage, helping Hogan win the world title. Hogan and Nash then sign up for the next title match. So that's your replay. Nope. Wait. After they show us all of those clips, we then see that match in its entirety. What the fuck was that about?
Yeah, I felt like I missed something, like where they did all of the quick little clips, and then all of a sudden I said, like, wait, didn't we just have this, or is this a different match?
It was so confusing. At first, I thought the same thing. I was like, "Wait, what am I watching? Is this?" And then I'm like, "Oh my god, this is everything they just showed highlights of. Why the fuck am I watching it again like this? This was."
And why are we watching really highlights bad. And then we're gonna watch the full version of the match right afterwards?
It's bad enough you're subjecting us to highlights from months ago to show us highlights followed by the full replay. It's torture.
It is, most certainly is.
We then go back to Larry Zbyszko and Mike Tenay. They're talking about Sid, of course. He might look like Frankenstein, but he's no dummy. You can take a guess who said that. We then watch clips of Sid as they start discussing the Millennium Man. They show some of Sid's promos, which I still think he's one of the best promos in WCW during this time period.
Which, not sure if that's like a dig at WCW, or actually legitimately giving Sid his due.
A little column A, a little column B here. We then see Goldberg and Sting are in a tag match against Sid and Rick Steiner on Nitro. Hogan's on commentary. He then gets off of commentary, gives Rick a chair shot and Sid a chair shot for the DQ finish. Nash comes out and powerbombs Hogan through the commentary table. More chaos. As every one of these main event matches we're watching seem to just end with total fucking clusterfuck.
And also this one in particular ends with Hogan and his earth-shattering chair shots.
We then cut to a replay of Ash Ketchum, played by Hogan's son, I think, telling Hogan to wear the red and yellow. We then see Hogan, who's going to put his title and his career on the line at Road Wild. We then see Sid, Nash, and Rick Steiner wrestling Goldberg, Sting, and the red and yellow Hulkamania, so Hogan is back. We then go to the Road Wild replay, which is Hogan versus Nash. Nash hits the jackknife powerbomb, but Hogan's going to no-sell it, Hulk up, big boot, leg drop for the win.
Were you kind of surprised
that he won by clean? This is the only clean.
I'm waiting for this to be crazy overbooked, especially considering that this is a title and career match. You would think that there'd be some shenanigans, but this is a complete 100% clean win.
This is the only clean win I think on this entire show, and it happens when titles and careers are on the line. Yeah.
Or it's probably the first clean win we've probably seen in the last 5 Thunders.
Right. So then after that, we get more replays of Sid, which this is when I started to feel like this show really bounced around a lot. It was like they went from talking about Sid to showing Hogan and Nash, and then they bounced back to Sid again. And, oh, by the way, Sting's here. I feel like they could have really planned this out a little bit better on the order and the stories they wanted to tell. But here we are.
Well, I think the problem is they basically just wanted to go strictly chronological.
And that's
by doing that,
part of it too.
It gets a little confusing because it's you're not – it's – but once again, that's what shows how bad the storytelling
right.
has been in WCW is that this is chronological and it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yep. No, you're absolutely right. We got Hogan and Sting in the ring together while Sid's on the outside. Hogan's going to break out of a neck massage by Sid. Hogan's going to Hulk up from the choke slam that Sid gave him. He's going to give a big boot, leg drop, and Rick Steiner enters. So there's your chaos ending there with the Sid and Hogan. We then see Sting, Lex, and Hogan discussing Hummergate in the ring. This is where Lex says that Sting is the true franchise at WCW. He doesn't trust Hogan. We then see Hogan and Sting wrestling on Nitro. Sting dodges the leg drop. Rick and Sid come in for the DQ finish. Goldberg comes in for the save. Lex is in. We get handshakes all around from the faces. So a little more chaos there. This leads to a follow-up discussion by Larry Zbyszko and Mike Tenay as they discuss Lex's photos of the Hummer with Hogan. This then cuts to a replay where Hogan talks about how he's going to eat fruit and act cool. Lex comes out with this might be the worst Lex has ever looked in this episode of Nitro. He's got
no. Hold on. I gotta back up my boy Lex here. So what happened was Lex got attacked in the back.
Okay.
But they decided that wasn't important enough to show during this clip-a-thon of Thunder. Lex got beat up in the back.
So that explains the bedhead and his shirt.
Yeah.
He had this huge neckline. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy wearing? But okay, that makes a lot more sense then.
Right, but once again, it's not being portrayed because you don't see it during all of these clips.
Well, I'm sorry, Lex, for ever doubting you. This, of course, is when he's going to show photos of Hogan with the Hummer. Hogan comes out. Him and Lex get into it. Goldberg, and then we see Goldberg and Hogan versus the Triad. Hogan is going to attack Bam Bam. Goldberg's going to no-sell a Diamond Cutter. That's sort of your match there. So, hey. We then go to Sting and Hogan discussing life. This is where Bret Hart's back. Him and Luger in the locker room as well. Then Hogan walks away and Sting is laid out. So Hogan thinks there was a setup. He was set up here. Then we see a Hell in a Cell type match with Goldberg, Sid, Hogan, DDP, Rick Steiner, all in the cell. Canyon's on the outside. I'm not sure what this match was supposed to be. Was it a 1-on-1, a 3-on-3? I don't know. Luger ends up coming out of the entrance ramp with Sting. Sting fights his way into the cell. Hogan's going to get the 3 count and stand tall. Whew, this is a lot.
Yeah, I have no idea who's in this match. Actually, the only people I know are in the match are Hogan and Goldberg and Sid and DDP. That's all I know for sure.
Yeah.
And then everybody else, as far as like the triad, I have no idea if it was supposed to be a handicap match.
Dude,
or
no idea.
what.
I was like,
there's no fucking clue.
Nothing, and they don't tell us, of course. Then they're here finally, Kyle. We're going to discuss Fall Brawl. So here's the most recent pay-per-view we've seen. We've spent all this time watching all of these replays of pay-per-views from months past, and instead we get stills from Fall Brawl. And I know that you're trying to sell replays of the pay-per-view, and you're trying to go with the still pictures here, but we're fucking 2 hours into this show. You've hyped up that we're going to watch all of these past replays. This is a preempted Thunder that's giving us fucking jack shit. You can't give us some clips from the fucking Fall Brawl. Like, just throw these people a bone here.
Right. And once again, like I guess they felt that they're already giving us more than what Thunder could ever offer at this point. But no, I agree and I disagree. I agree that it's, first of all, I just agree with the fact that it's a little bit of like a weird transition. You know, it's weird to have all these video clips and highlights, and then we're like, all right, now the thing you've all been waiting for, and then we just see like a couple photos, and it just kind of takes you out of it a little bit. Now, a reasonable man understands that why they did that, because obviously, yes, this pay-per-view is not even, it's still warm. It hasn't even been a week, since everything here happened. So, in fact, all this we're finding out for the first time because we don't watch Nitro, so we're learning everything that we need to learn from the encyclopedia of Thunder that we're getting here. So, would I have liked to see video? Absolutely. But at the same time, though, WCW's not cutting my checks, so I understand. The decisions they have to make are probably based on, making sure that they're squeezing that orange as long as they can to get as much juice out of it as they can.
Still, it frustrated me, to say the least. But as for the Fall Brawl match, you see Hogan and Sting come out, then Bret Hart comes out. And then
without a shirt,
leaves.
He just comes out shirtless and
he walks out, shakes hands, and leaves.
Something else. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
it was so bizarre. Like when I was watching Fall Brawl, I'm like, what was the point of that? As you can imagine, DDP comes out, Sid comes out, Luger comes out. Then ultimately, Sting's gonna turn his back on Hogan with the baseball bat. He's turned heel. Sting is
the blackest of hearts.
Yeah, that's right. And we got our rematch at upcoming Halloween Havoc. We then cut back, and it's Tenay and Zbyszko discussing Goldberg and Sid. We then see some clips where Disco Inferno makes an appearance, so good to see Disco's around because it's been a while since we've seen him on Thunder. We then see Goldberg says he will not stand for Sid's mouth, and he is proud of his record, unlike Sid, who shouldn't be proud of his record. Ric Flair also made his return to WCW. Sting and Lex come out, and Sting says Flair has always turned his back on Sting, and honestly, Sting said maybe he is who he is because of Flair and the distrust that Flair has given him over the years. And I gotta be honest,
amen.
This is some long writing right here. This is some good shit because Sting has been the naive tag partner who's always been turned on so many times in the past. So I really appreciated it.
But the sad thing is the two guys that turned on him more are the two guys in that ring, Luger and Flair.
Yep. Lex tells Flair, unlike diamonds, you are not forever. Rick said he was ready to retire until he watched last week's Nitro.
So once again, this is 1999. He was ready to retire, and then we'll fast forward to 2009 or 2010 when he finally does retire.
Right. Lex and Sting then are going to finally attack Flair. He's going to get a torture rack, Scorpion Deathlock, so Lex and Sting just dastardly heels at this point, and that brings out Bret Hart and Hogan for the save. And I got to be honest, Bret Hart standing next to Hogan, God, it was shocking to me how much taller Hogan looked than Bret Hart. And I know that's like a thing, but it just, I don't know, it blew my mind in that moment, seeing it that way.
So how tall is Bret Hart? I think if I remember correctly, he's about as tall as us. Like about 6 feet tall?
My guess is he's about 6'1" probably, and Hogan's what, 6'6"?
Let's see, Bret Hart he's billed at 6'0", and Hulk Hogan is 6'7".
Yeah.
Well, once again, 7 feet difference that's a difference.
7 inches.
For sure.
7 inches. Not 7
it's
feet.
Roughly 7. I mean, look, we're not scientists here, but we'll say roughly 7 inches.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was kind of crazy to see. Then we see J.J. Dillon. He's on a cell phone with a doctor to see if who was cleared for wrestling? Luger. There we go. Thank you. I didn't have it in my notes here. I put he, so pronouns, right? But we find out that J.J. Dillon is shocked to find out that Luger's been cleared for 3 weeks already. So what a dick. We then go into our main event replay here. It is from Nitro. It is Bret Hart and Hogan versus Lex and Sting. And
Lex being the unprofessional. Dude, bring your gear.
Dude, so this is what I put. Lex has one of the best bodies in wrestling. That's like, Lex isn't much of a talker.
Dude, he's the narcissist.
He's not much.
You get that from having that body.
Right. He can't wrestle all that well. He's not very good on the microphone. The dude is all body, and here he is wrestling in something I'd paint my house in. Like, it was almost embarrassing to see him in this attire. But as for the match, DDP comes out. Lex is going to hit Bret Hart with the baseball bat in the face, and that's all she wrote.
Did you see that and go like, did that actually hurt?
I rewound it like 5 times to keep watching it because I was like trying to see exactly how it played out. Because
it's one of those things where, like, if you get hit in the face with a baseball bat, I was wondering, did Bret – because I always feel like if you're a wrestler and you get hit with an object to the face, you sell it like you get knocked out, right? Like, right. He got it like in the bridge of the nose, and he's just holding his face like he got hit in the face with a bat. Like, my assumption is it was a gimmicked bat. And it
is. Smacked him with it though. Like he like it smacked him. It was like, I mean, if you hit me with a rubber bat or something, it's gonna fucking hurt. And I'm gonna hold my face like it hurts.
Right, like if you and I got hit in the face with like a Nerf bat, from somebody who has the muscle definition of a Lex Luger, at I wouldn't say full swing, but let's give half a swing. Lex Luger half swinging a baseball bat in your face is gonna fucking hurt, and I don't know if maybe that was agreed upon. I mean, they're all professionals here, so sure. It's like you want to make it look believable. You don't want it's not a Hogan chair shot here, but I just was really curious of whether or not Bret sold it or like this is legit. Like he legit fucking like holding the bridge of his nose because he's in so much pain.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me at all. That said, that was Thunder, Kyle. A little different.
Which also, what an abrupt end for the show.
It was such an abrupt end. Yeah, it was weird. They just kind of closed out like that. That was the 80th episode of Thunder. What did you think about this very unique edition of Thunder?
I appreciate that they tried this. I'm not saying it was done well. They could have easily just replayed. I mean, look, TBS and TNT. I mean, TBS is the sister company of Turner. I don't know if they have any rights to be able to like replay like Nitro on TBS, or hell, they could have just replayed last week's Thunder. I don't know what else they could have done. So I appreciate that they wanted to at least give new content, even if it is rehashed stuff in a studio. I will say that it was very janky and corny at times. I don't know if I like Mike Tenay, but I also do believe that Mike Tenay is a less is more type of person on camera. He's just, I don't know. Like I'm not saying I'm a prize, but I don't know. Mike Tenay is, I don't know, not much of a TV personality, if you know what I'm saying. and Zbyszko's gonna Zbyszko, so you're gonna get the hits with Zbyszko. As far as what they were trying to do, I get it, I appreciate it, but because the show is 2 hours long, it was like a forced long walk. Like, we went all the way back to, two guys are not even wrestling right now in WCW. Macho Man's like around, but he hasn't been in the ring in God knows how long. Nash is retired. So the first like half of this whole show revolved around Nash being the champion, and then Nash challenging for the belt. He's not even technically part of the company anymore. But yet this is supposed to be a long walk towards how dastardly Sting is, and we should have noticed all of the clues. The writing was on the wall all the way back at the beginning. Now, Sting hasn't admitted that he's the Hummer driver. This could have been an easy way to put this fucking convoluted, just dead, beaten horse of a storyline, and just have Sting say, "Yeah, I was the Hummer driver the whole time."
Boom, and done.
Dude, done. Just done with it. But instead, we are going to continue this for a little bit longer and never get a true answer. This is like this is the easiest way to just dump this. Yeah. Even if that wasn't supposed to be the end result. That's fine.
This is your opportunity to hornswoggle your way to Vince being your father to end that storyline.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about that. It was supposed to be Mr. Kennedy's big storyline. And then he decided that he was going to backdrop.
You just wrap
Randy
up a
Orton.
story, or you make Hornswoggle the anonymous GM. Like you just wrap up a story.
That's right. Hornswoggle was the anonymous GM, and that was a stupid story. Like, dude, what if Hornswoggle? Wouldn't that be great
if he was the Hummer driver?
If he was the Hummer driver,
I would be all for it.
You can understand that he didn't see the fucking limo.
Yeah, it was accidental. Boom,
it was accidental. I really want Hornswoggle to get into the WWE Hall of Fame, and the first thing he says is, "I was the limo driver."
I have a really hard time with this episode of Thunder, and
it's not an episode of Thunder,
right? I mean, it's hard to judge them. You're not expecting a hurricane to come. Obviously, you don't have a plan. If contingency plan if something like this takes place, but they keep advertising world title matches all night. They're hyping it up, and when you get to the fall brawl, you get still photos. I still think that was really shitty. I think they could have done so much more with this. If you really wanted to do this episode right, look, I don't care what happened with Kevin Nash and Randy Savage at Bash at the Beach or Great American Bash. At this point, that's months ago. To your point, Savage is barely around right now. Nash is quote-unquote retired. So what I think they could have done to make this Thunder better is start with the whole just tell Sting's story. That's your big story right now. Sting just turned heel, won the world title. So why don't we go through a life, Sting's career in WCW and where it went, show all of these, Ric Flair turning on him, Luger turning on him, how he went from this surfer Sting that was happy-go-lucky to this tormented crow Sting to battling the NWO to finally to where we are today. Like, you could have done so much more to build up that Sting character and not jump around. It just seems so half-assed and not well thought of. And
I agree. I agree. I wish that was. I wish that do you think they would have had 2 hours of being able to produce here's a look back on
they could have done
Sting.
Something. Even if they showed that and then show some clips from his matches. I mean, you could have made it happen.
Sure, but I guess maybe that's a decision that they didn't want this to be like they don't want this to be the Sting show.
Well,
unless, you know what I mean?
So you have SmackDown on the other channel, and you want to know what SmackDown was going head-to-head against this stellar episode of Thunder?
Is this the one where McMahon wins the title?
It is the one where McMahon wins the title.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I knew it was in September.
You open up with Shane McMahon defeating Joey Abs. Mark Henry defeats Steve
5-star
Blackman.
match.
Mark Henry defeats Steve Blackman in a minute 5 to retain the European title. Curtis Hughes beats Shamrock via disqualification. The Undertaker wins a 5-man battle royal with The Rock, Kane, Mankind, and The Big Show. Billy Gunn and Chyna defeat Hardcore Holly and Crash Holly. Al Snow defeats Big Boss Man in a pepper on a pole match. Jeff Jarrett defeats Test, or no, I take it back, wrestles Test for the Intercontinental title that ends in a no contest. And then to your point, Vince McMahon defeats Triple H to win the WWF Championship with Shane McMahon as special guest referee. So all of that goes on, and nobody's fucking watching Thunder.
And at the same time, you could say, I mean, once again, hindsight's 2020, that putting the belt on Vince is probably not like a great idea. You know, it's probably one of the more infamous decisions to like have McMahon win the title. It's just, once again, he's not really a talent. I mean, he is. I guess I can't really say that. He's been in enough matches, but once again, they're always meant to be to have him get his ass kicked. You know,
right.
It's not meant for him to be a champion, or no one expected him to defend the title. He's basically just getting it off of Triple H, and then he's going to relinquish it. So if even Thunder had a regular show, like, there were a lot of things that, you know, that people would have a problem with that particular SmackDown. And this could have been actually a really good opportunity for Thunder to come out swinging. And once again, extenuating circumstances, obviously beyond their control. But just unfortunate, because this was actually, you know, kind of panned, that particular episode of SmackDown. And that could have been an opportunity for, you know, WCW to at least maybe, as shallow as a win it could be. But man, they couldn't buy a bucket thanks to Hurricane Floyd.
They could not. But that said, that was Thunder. That was our episode. If you haven't yet subscribed, go do it. Leave us a rating. Let us know how we're doing. I mean, we just spent damn near 40 minutes talking about a recap episode of Thunder where they literally did not show us anything new. So give us some credit for that. Of course, you guys follow us on social media at Thundercraps and thundercraps.com for all of our previous episodes. Then you can go watch Thunder 81. No Hurricane will stop us next week. We've got a live edition of Thunder. It is September 23rd, 1999. Go watch it. We'll be back next week to discuss it. For Kyle Hogan, I'm Josh Kaiser, and we will see you next time on the Thundercraps podcast.
We are piercingly out of time. See ya.